Hello and welcome to our daily meeting. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Mind you, it's not easy for me with the English part, but it's like more natural at the same time. And today we're finishing the sermon, Jesus' Sermon on the Mountain, and it seems as though he's talking today in what we call maxims. And when did I start to read it that Sunday? I said, it seems as though I'm hearing my father talking, because my dad used to talk like that. And it was also Father's Day, Sunday. So I started thinking about Daddy and what was my young years with him and all that. And I thought today that I would talk to you about him. Talk to you about him very simply. He's a very simple daddy. But at the same time, to glorify the Lord for what He wants to teach us through our parents. He taught us some things. And some things probably we remember, other things we don't remember. But in all the things they have done for us, there's always something that God wants to tell us. And I stopped Sunday. It was a pleasure, mind you, to think about my father, because he was my hero. He was my hero, and I always found him so good looking. He was good looking. He was charming. He was real English, Daddy. He was really British and always well dressed and very gentleman, you know. My mother never sat on a chair without my father pulling the chair for her, just to give you an idea. And he danced so well. He showed me how to dance. You know, he was my, how do you say that, my prince. He was like a charming prince. He wasn't perfect, mind you. And I'm sure that now that he's with God, God has fixed up everything of that for him. And if there's something left in my heart, I can go to see God and ask him also to cure this pain that maybe I have, maybe you have when you think about your father. But God wants to do it because He taught us good things through our parents, and especially today through our daddies. And I remember one thing of my father. That wasn't for me directly, but I have to tell you. He was about 85, 86 years old, and one day he was in the hospital. In the last years, he was in the hospital a long time. And I went in to see him with my mother. And my mother had a beautiful white dress, beautiful summer dress. And when we walked into the room, Daddy just looked at Mommy and he said, "You're so beautiful, Loretta. You're so pure." Just imagine. I was about 40 years old at that time. I just moved out of the room. I knew there was no room for me in that moment. There was something between Mommy and Daddy very special, a very special love. They were both Irish, but there was a lot of this going on. But at the same time, they loved one another and in a lot of respect. My father was my hero, and he was also a good friend for me. He taught me everything I knew. He taught me how to play sports, this sport. He brought me to see the football games and teach me how to understand football, teach me how to understand baseball. All the sports he liked, I had to like. And every Sunday night we'd go for a walk together, and he taught me things of life, as he said. What do you want to be in the future? Or he sang songs to me and he said, "You have to learn these songs." Or once in a while he said, "Well, we'll just sit down in the living room and we'll listen to music, because you have to have a culture also. You have to know what is the Ave Maria, the Schubert, or the Gounod, and you have to know the difference between all this." He was always teaching me things. That's a little bit like God. God is always teaching us things. And whatever he said, mind you, I believed him. I had a very, very strong confidence in him. He was always there to protect me. And I remember very young, when summer came, or just before summer, just before winter, when you're a child, you're growing up, so you always need a new coat or new boots or whatever, new dresses for summertime. And Mommy said, well, I think Suzanne needs a few new things. And Daddy always said, okay, I'll go with her. And Mommy said, only 3 dresses, not more than that. But usually I came back with a little bit more. And Mommy always said, why did you do that? Oh, she was so beautiful in that dress. Just to give you that, it's like God also. Because God, when He gives you something, He always gives you more and more and more. Why? Just because He loves us. That's what He is. And I remember one Lent, I asked him, I said, Daddy, I'd like to go to Mass every morning for 40 days, but it's during March or February, it's very early in the morning, I'm sort of scared to go alone. Would you come with me? He said, okay, I go this year with you, but I won't be going every year. And he came with me all that time. And we weren't necessarily, for a while, we prayed the rosary every now and then in the family, but not every day. But he had a real charity. Charity in the sense of, if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, don't say anything. Would you say that, what you just have said in front of the person? No. Well, don't say it. And he taught me also, he taught me how to earn my life, to work. It was very important when it was Mommy's birthday or his birthday or Christmas or Easter that we exchanged gifts. So he said, you have to work a little bit more. So I went to clean houses, not clean houses inside, but outside to during the winter time with all the snow, or just I used to gather egg boxes and go to the market to sell them. Just little things like that. But he taught me the value of money, and this is always useful in life. But I think that the most important part that he taught me, and today it's like my trademark. My trademark is mercy. And when he taught me a lot of sports, so I was in the hospital myself a few times with a broken leg or something like that. And every time I went to the hospital, here came Daddy. And I said, but Daddy, don't wait, it's too long. He just looked at me and he always said, misery loves company, misery loves company. He always stayed beside me. And after that, when he was older and he was hospitalized, I'd go to see him. I'd go from university to the hospital for lunch with him, and then I'd go back to university. And he said, that's a lot for you. Why don't you stay in university and don't come every day like that? And I always answered back, misery loves company. And this is what God does for us. He knows our misery and He sticks by our side. He stays with us. So going through all what Daddy did for me and what He was for me, at that time I didn't realize anything of all this. But today when I stop and I pray and I look at all this in front of God, I realize that God was talking to me, was teaching me, and was loving me through Him. So if there's suffering in your heart when you're thinking about your father, well, just go to the chapel and ask the Lord to cure your pain. But at the same time, just try afterwards to think of all your father did for you, and you probably will see the face of God.